Hi, welcome to Roots to Fruit, Midlands Limited, here at our HQ in Streetley, Sutton Coldfield. And what we've been learning about here is about seed collection. So seed collection is a really important thing. Um, what if you can collect seeds from your vegetable patch? So like if you've got veg that has gone to seed, whether it be peas or runner beans or your cabbage, and you're able to get access to those seeds, what it does is that basically the seed has been given a piece of information about your very site, about its conditions, about the things it's been through, about the hardships it had, and about the things that are great about that site. The parent plant has given that little piece of information to that seed so that when you plant it on your site again, it's already used to those situations and it's already used to the quirks and the things that might happen over the next season when you grow the next generation of plants to do that. And also, seeds generally take the best characteristics from the previous generation. Where this might be difficult to do is if you've got F1 hybrids, so you've got varieties that are a specific F1 hybrid that come from a certain generation and tend to be grown at a proper grower or plant breeders. What you'll tend to find is that they will take the information from the previous generation and limit it and create unpredictable results for the next one. So if you want that F1 hybrid, you have to keep going back to wherever you got it from, whether that's on the seed packet from the seed company or from the actual grower or breeder themselves. So the other thing is that you don't have to buy seeds. This is what's great. You save money on seeds. One of some of the biggest budgets that gardeners have is on they spend on their seed budget. And also you can do some of that selection yourself. That you could go to the supermarket, for example, and buy yourself something like this pepper, and we cut the middle out and look what's inside there. It's all the seeds. What happens to that middle normally? Well, it gets chucked in the bin. Why would you do that? What you can do is get a piece of paper, scrape out those seeds and put it onto a sheet of paper, and then very slowly dry them out on the radiator. Yeah. Choose the best pepper. Yeah. For example, if you were going to choose a pepper, you wouldn't take it from this one. This one's a green pepper, and you're wondering, well, what's the difference between a green pepper and a red pepper? And it's not just the colour or the flavour, but actually the red pepper's ripe, and it is from ripe fruit that you get your seeds from, that you take them from. So if you see a really nice pepper, or taste a really nice pepper from the supermarket, and it's red and it's ripe, don't just throw away the middle, save the seeds. And you can do that with other things. You can do it with your chili peppers. Obviously, make sure they're red and ripe. But obviously, be careful when you're taking the seeds. The seeds are the most spiciest part. So if you then touch your eye or other soft parts of your skin, you might get a bit of a burning sensation. So just to be aware of that. So be careful. You might want to wear a pair of rubber gloves. And save them onto a piece of paper. And you can then sow them at a later date. And I'll be talking about storage in a moment. You might see some strawberries. So a lot of these herbaceous plants that aren't woody, you can save seeds from strawberries, cucumbers, pumpkins, marrows, gourds. You wouldn't do it from raspberries because that's like a hardy sort of nursery stock that's woody. You wouldn't do it from apples because that's another way that we have apples. But from strawberries, which are herbaceous, a lot of people will take a strawberry runner. But the trouble is, with vegetative propagation, where you're cloning, you're taking on a lot of their problems or mistakes and moving them to the next generation, where a seed tends not to do that. And the easiest way to get these seeds off, see the outside of the seed is absolutely the outside of a strawberry. A strawberry isn't a berry, by the way, because it has the seed on the outside. You can see a berry has to have the seed on the inside. So can you see there? I'm starting to cut off these bits. So you don't even have to lose that much of the strawberry. You can still eat the middle of the strawberry. So we're taking all of those little tiny seeds there, and they're a pain. They're really difficult to sow and everything like that. Again, you can do this with tomatoes. Again, you can do this with chili peppers as well. You can do it with cucumbers. If they're wet, put them onto a sheet of paper. It can be any paper. Yeah. And what you're doing then is you're mashing them up. Yeah. And spreading them out. Yeah. All over the sheet of paper. Yeah, so I'm getting that one and mashing the front like that. And that means then, it's that pulp there, we can spread it out. And what it is the seed is then preserved inside that pulp. So can you see what I'm starting to do is to try and build up a block. So we're trying to build up a block of seed. So if you've got enough, you might be able to do it with an A4 sheet of paper and fill that whole A4 sheet of paper with those seeds, or you might just do it in strips. And the great thing about that is you can dry that out on the radiator until it goes really hard and crusty, and then you fold it up and you can put it in the fridge at sort of 0 to 5 degrees centigrade. And when you're ready to sow them next year, you take the paper out and you literally put that piece of paper straight into a seed tray. You haven't got to worry about spreading the seeds out. The seeds go straight in the compost, put a bit of compost on the top, and you'll get your tray of strawberries, you'll get your tray of tomatoes that come straight up. So that's a great way of collecting seeds that are for free. Whether you can get them off strawberries or whether you can get them out of peppers. And I've always noticed people say, oh, don't the supermarkets treat them so that they're seedless? Well, they do, but very often I've got a pepper and inside it there's another pepper. That means the seed is growing and it can be viable. Or but also, if you do take these as you're going to replant them next year, they're dried out, you stored them for spring next year, you stored them in a fridge or a cool, dry place. Basically, what you're then going to do is do a viability test. So if you take a few of these seeds, put them on some tissue, wet tissue, put them inside a little plastic bag that's clear, and see how many come up. If 10 come up, if you've put 10 on there and 10 come up, that's 100% viability, 100% of germinating. 5 come up, that's 50%. 2 come up, that's like 25%. Yeah, so you see what the viability is, and then you know how much to sow that seed, so you don't either waste space or don't give them enough space, if that makes sense. So viability is an important thing. How well it germinates and the quality of the plant when it comes up is an important thing. The other thing that you can do is collect seeds off, like if you're collecting flower head seeds or if you're collecting herbs or off your vegetables. You get tiny seeds, and so what you tend to find is that the important thing is if you're getting herbs or flowers, or even if you're getting peas, try and cut as much of the stem off as possible. So can you see here, these are about that high, and I snipped them off to about there, because there's still a load of goodness that's going to the seeds that's in there. And these seeds are just about starting to ready to go. You can see they're a bit fluffy. They're sort of coming off. These float on the wind, so you can see that there. It's coming off. So they are getting pretty ripe, but there's still some flowers that haven't ripened completely. There's goodness in those stems that's going to them. So make sure you cut a bit off the stem. If it's a pod, like a pea pod or a bean pod, make sure you've got a bit of the stem. And it's also starting to die back. And these are the ones that you don't necessarily want to eat, or you don't necessarily need, but we can save seeds then from next year for this way. And then what you do is you get yourself an elastic band. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to do a couple of twists in it. In fact, probably two twists will do it. Put it around the stems like that, and that's held them together. Yep. That means now we can hang that up like that and let it dry out. So the most important thing with seeds is that they're in a dry environment. Yep. But the trouble is these seeds are really small. You see them coming off there, they're starting to come off. So the next thing that you do is you get yourself either a piece of cloth like a muslin, or you get yourself a brown paper bag, it's breathable, and you take those seeds and you put it inside, like so, like that. And then you can hang it up in your shed, against a window, or in your greenhouse, yeah. And then what I would do, again, get yourself another elastic band, a couple of twists in it so that you can go around, and it will really then hold that bag on, so that you haven't got to worry about it falling off and losing all of those seeds. And also in here, if it's pretty windy, it's moving about like that, the seeds aren't all going everywhere, they're falling in that bag. So what you find is as it dries out and you're ready to sort of take this bag off, give it a really, really good tap like that. And then you've got to look at storing it. Okay, storing those seeds. So what you can do is this bag here could be absolutely perfect for storing that seed in. So you could fold it over, write the name on it, write the date that you took it, yeah, and you know when you should be sowing it. Or a lot of people store seeds in different types of envelopes. So you see we've got envelopes like this. What I want to do is I want to show you just then how much seed I just got off there. Let's have a look here. Look at that. See all those seeds there? Hundreds of plants for next year. Yep. And what they then do, we put them inside that envelope like that. The great thing about an envelope is, see your edge there? Seal it. And then what you're doing, writing the name, date, when it's got to be sowed. And you want to store it in a cool, dry place. Ideally, a fridge would be the best place. But obviously, you want to make sure that you get rid of all of the moisture, that they've dried out properly. So if it's these seeds, they've really dried out properly, because that can harbour pests and particular diseases. To help dry seeds out, you can store them in a container like this. Now, this is cat litter here. And cat litter naturally can draw in moisture from the atmosphere. Then you can put your packets of seeds inside there and let them dry out. So you might even want to fold them over if you want to. Let them dry out inside there, and then you can store it. Now, if you haven't got a fridge that works, you can store it in a fridge that's broken, because that's a stable environment, because a fridge is insulated. And what you can do, if you really want to keep that cold store for a long period of time, have it out in your shed. And on a day when it's like freezing cold, you've got real bad frost, just open the fridge door, let that cold air in, close it, and that'll be trapped in there for ages. Or you use an old cool box, you know what, you keep your drinks coolers in, or you know when you go on a picnic and have a cooler, you can store it in there again, take the lid off when it's cold, put it back on. But don't store them in like your kitchen drawer in a warm environment, cool, dry place. And the great thing about a fridge or a cool box or even a tin box or metal box that you put them in is that rodents can't get in there to eat them. And so then you're protecting them from those types of pests. But yeah, cool, dry place, put the seeds in, keeping them nice and dry. If you want to put them into the fridge, 0 to 5 degrees centigrade is the optimum time to keep them. And they'll keep for up to 3 or 4 or 5 years. If you want to keep seeds for a lot longer, you can use a freezer, but there's only certain seeds that you can do with that. So with a freezer, it really does shut the seed down, but also the seed has a hard shell on the outside. And that freezer, and indeed the fridge, will help to break that hard shell down to allow for the first stage of germination. So by putting them in the fridge, cold store, or a freezer, you are getting the seed ready so that in the spring, it's got a quicker chance of germinating and a higher chance. And therefore, what we are looking at doing with using a freezer is, I could try and name all the different seeds that you can do in there. But what I will say is the general rule of thumb with a freezer is if it's from a hardy plant, such as a tree or a shrub, then put it in the freezer, particularly conifers. If you want to grow conifers that way, they're used to really cold winters, -10, -15, -20. That breaks down the shell. You take them out of the freezer, they think it's spring, and up they come. But also you can do it with plants that aren't hardy, as long as you follow this rule that don't do really, really small seeds, you know, like these strawberries, and large seeds like peas and beans. Look for mid-sized seeds like these peppers, chilies, or tomatoes. Those are the ones that work well in a freezer, particularly like with the chilies. They have a very, very hard outside. Yeah. And that's why they're spicy, because they want to go through the digestive system, through the stomach acids, and come through intact. So they want to get out really quick. Whereas a freezer will do a great job of breaking down that hard surface on the outside to aid germination. And that increases your viability. So these are all the things that you need to remember about this. Autumn's a great time for collecting seed in your garden. Lots of plant flowers that have gone over, turned to fruit. Some of them you let them dry out and then you save them, and you try and save the best. Look for the best, look for the ripest, look for the biggest, look for the earliest. Those are the types of qualities that you want. Also, if you are going to the supermarket, you bought fruit, you see some really nice fruit, really nice strawberries, choose the best, try and save the seeds off in that way. That's the way of getting free seeds. And also, when you ask, put them on paper to dry out, and then put them in the fridge or cool, dry place, out of sunlight, out of the heat, totally dried, stored in a container where moisture's been sucked out of the atmosphere, so that they're not going to come back to life again or get diseases. And also, storing seeds long term in a fridge that's 0 degrees centigrade to 5 degrees centigrade. But if you haven't got that, a fridge on its own or a cool box will work. That gives you a stable environment, and you can allow cold air to go in on cold days by just opening it and then closing it. And also, you can use a fridge to really prolong the life, up to 5 years in a fridge, and up to 10, 15, 16 years in a freezer. So we've got, my grandfather collected some seeds in 2006. In a couple of weeks, he's been gone since 2007. And a couple of weeks, a few months ago, we got those seeds out the freezer, and we got 50% germination. That the freezer and the fridge helps not only keeps things fresh, like you would use your food, but also that cold temperature helps to break down the hard surface to aid germination in the future. So it's a wonderful world of free seeds. And the most important thing about this as well to remember is the seed that you collect from your own garden is passing on that information about your site specifically to the next generation. If you keep doing that generation and generation, you will get succession. And succession means success. And success means that you've got a great larder of food and flowers that you can rely upon and show off to all your mates about just by using this system and putting it into operation in your own allotment or garden. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.